Welcome to the best of first-person episodes from Phantoms and Monsters. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads.
Werewolf feeding on deer along Apalachicola National Forest Florida Highway. I was traveling Highway 10 from the California on the west coast to South Florida. I was with my 6 kids and pulling a trailer with all my belongings and 3 dogs. I was in a big SUV. It was around 2 a.m. The kids were all asleep and my daughter, about 13 years old, was in the passenger seat to make sure I stayed awake. So after traveling Highway 10 for 3 days, I had decided, since we reached Florida, we would cut through the state to save some time. So we got off Highway 10 on an off-road in hopes of getting gas and making some time. It was along Route 27 in Apalachicola National Forest. We came to the first little gas station that we found. It was closed. I was nervous because we needed gas and were running on fumes. So we continued on. I told my daughter to keep an eye out for deer crossing the 2-lane deserted highway, because hitting a deer could kill us all and turn us over due to the trailer we were pulling. We were traveling around 45 miles per hour. I remember this so clearly like it was yesterday, but it was 5 years ago. We had our brights on because the road was dark and winding. A few houses, but far between. As we came around the corner, in the headlights on the road, was a lot of blood. Very fresh blood. And on the side of the road was this 6 or 7 foot tall creature on its hind legs hunched over a dead deer and eating it. It did not look up. Not even when my headlights hit it. It was using its arms like a human eating the deer. It had a very muscular body, pointing ears. Also a long muzzle. If you ever saw a werewolf, this was it. Skinny lower torso, wide chest, but used arms and hands just like a human. If it looked up, I would have died. I looked over at my daughter. We were both seeing the same thing at the same time. Tears came to my eyes instantly, and at the same time we both said, "Werewolf." I sped up. I was scared it would run towards us and jump on my trailer. As we got about a mile away, my heart was still beating so hard. My daughter and I were so freaked out. It was a werewolf. I have never been a believer in a werewolf. I don't watch movies or have any reason to make this up. And as a matter of fact, until today, I have only told a handful of people. There is a werewolf in Florida. WW.
All upright wolf-like creature encountered in Sinaloa, Mexico. Balsas Forest. My encounter happened when I was a teen, around 2005. I lived in a small village not too far from where my encounter happened in the Balsas Forest in Sinaloa, Mexico. I did not tell anyone until years later. My friend and I were quite the troublemakers, I will not lie, and we decided to go off on our own. We went to Balsas Forest and we did not go to camp, but we messed around and played until dark began to come. I was never fearful of the dark. It never gave me fear. So as dark began to fall upon us, we were fine, and it was not unusual for me to just wander off and go to my friends without telling me mum. Like I said, I was pretty bad back then, and I never listened to my mother anyway. Now the forest was hot and humid, so we had no shirts on. We took them off and casually hung them around our shoulders. We wore shorts and sandals. I was actually tormenting a snake with a stick while my friend laughed at me. The dark came, yet the whole moon shone bright down through the trees, so it was okay, we could still see. We put our shirts on as it gets colder at night. We were getting ready to leave, and I thought I knew everything back then. I was very wrong. We heard footsteps off in front of us somewhere, but they were so heavy, not really like human, yet clearly 2-footed steps. We were more interested in seeing what it was, and my friend suggested we hide in the foliage to scare whatever it was, a person or an animal. We just wanted fun. We got in the foliage and giggled to each other and watched, waiting. The thuds became louder and it came out into the opening so fast, like a raging bull. It was not a bull. Now we are terrified. This beast was around 7 foot tall, maybe more. It was black and gray, like silver in places. Its fur was matted and horrible, with a smell like I have never smelled again. I cannot describe that smell, but it made you retch. The ears were pointed. We never said a word to each other as we stared at it, sniffing the air like a wolf on the scent of its prey. You could see defined body muscles and arms. Yes, arms and hands with very long unusual fingers with claws. It had a very long snout. You could see it had fang-like teeth, dog-like in many ways, but much too big. It had backwards bent back legs and the strangest feet I have ever seen, elongated with 3 toes, huge toes. It looked so strange. It then suddenly snapped its head towards us and stared with intent of evil. You could tell. Its eyes were amber and slanted looking. We just ran. We did not know what else to do. We made a big mistake because it was now too dark to see clearly, and in all the panic we thought we were lost, and we just went to nearest large tree and climbed as far up as we could. We sat there in the dark listening to thudding steps through the forest. We stayed huddled in that tree all night, waiting to be eaten or killed. It never came. The next thing I remember, it was morning. You don't know fear like that, praying in a tree for your life, cold and terrified. Being in danger from falling from the tree did not matter. That thing did matter. When the morning came, we knew we are way back deep into the forest. Funny how fear can change your perception. When I got home, my mum scolded, shouted and went on so long about where had I been. I had never been shouted at like that before. I never told anyone. My friend and I never did until later. My mum thought her shouts changed me, but no, that thing changed me, and I did not stray again. Now I live in London, England, but it will stay with me forever. CH.
Werewolf encountered along Roadway in Calvert County, Maryland. This is a rather short encounter because I was riding in a car and basically saw it and rode past it. I have been past the site hundreds of times since then, but have never gotten out and walked around the area. Maybe I should. This encounter changed my life. When I read the encounters by others, I never discount them. Why? Because I know what I saw, and who am I to question someone else's experience? Sure, there are a lot of made-up stories and creepypasta out here, but I strive to find credible-sounding accounts. It was evening and my family and I were coming back from Chesapeake Beach, Maryland, from having dinner with my brother, mom and dad. I was 15 or 16 years old and in the back right passenger seat chilling with my brother. Riding along, I'm just looking out the window, and there is a little road that merges onto the main road on the left, so as we merge we pick up a little speed. We were going maybe 25 to 30 miles per hour, and you have to cross this little bridge, and it's really bumpy, so we slowed even more to maybe 20 miles per hour. Once we did that, I look up ahead, and about 75 yards ahead I see something standing on the wood edge off to the right a little, but it was exactly at the edge of the woods. It had both arms on a tree just standing there, meaning, its right arm was on a tree about shoulder height, and its left arm was on a tree at about shoulder height. So its arms were basically spread out with its hands on the trees. It was about 7 foot tall, maybe even taller, had a wolf-like face, only larger, like a dire wolf from Game of Thrones. It had really broad shoulders, very muscular arms, a barrel chest, and it narrowed the rest of the way down the abdominal area. It was dark brown and the hair was medium length. I didn't get a great look at the legs because it locked eyes with me. It knew I saw it and it saw me. I saw it a good distance up ahead and was like, what the hell is that standing on the wood edge? Soon as I said that to myself, I locked eyes with it. I saw it for a good 10 to 15 seconds because of how far up ahead I first noticed it moving around and how slow we were traveling. Its eyes followed mine the entire time. It took my breath when I first realized what I was looking at, and my first thought was, God, that thing is ugly. It had very pointy features, and it didn't look like a Bigfoot, but an actual werewolf. A lot of people call it a dogman, but I'm more inclined to say this was an actual wolfman. I said out loud to my family, did you guys see that thing? Obviously they were like, see what? Another thing, this was in southern Maryland where there are no bears or other large animals. But I asked my family over and over if they saw it, and they started getting annoyed with me. I told people over the years, but I was only ridiculed and teased about it, so I just stopped. So that was my encounter. My family still doesn't believe me either, and most other people think I'm crazy or lying, so I very rarely tell anyone about it. But it was real, it was there. I just want to know the W's of the creature. Where, what, why, etc. S.
Man shapeshifts into dog-like entity near Granada, Nicaragua. This encounter happened in May 1989. We went on a school trip visiting the ruins of an old Sandinistas outpost that was politically historic, located by the town called Granada in Nicaragua. We were 27 kids all together, and had special permission from our parents to go there. I happened to notice that there were houses by the place where the historical site was. They were on the hills of a mountain, where I stupidly had gone to investigate. The houses were old and made of wood. They were about 60 yards from the historical site. As I came by the first house, an elderly man came and asked me why I wasn't with my group. I told him, "Why do you care?" He responded in an angry tone, "Because there are things out here that will take you. Our country is wild, but only if you travel in the mountains, rivers, lakes or by the sea," so I paid no mind to his warning. It was around 5:30 p.m. and I was about 100 yards from the historical site. As soon as the teacher blew her whistle, we were to regroup at the bus in order to leave. I was sitting next to the tree line eating a sandwich, when behind me I heard a distinct noise. It was a growling sound that literally shook all of my nerves. I immediately turned back to see if anything was coming my way. Suddenly I heard the teacher's whistle. I figured I had a good 2 or 3 minutes to get up the tree and see if I could spot anything, so I did. What I saw crawling on the forest floor did not make any sense at all. It was a man lying on the ground, about 80 or 100 feet in the woodline. His body was jerking as if in extreme pain. I saw that his back looked sweaty, and as he jerked he turned his face towards me, and I could see his eyes were red, and his nose was literally turning black and elongated. I quickly climbed down the tree, grabbed my backpack and left, running to the bus. Apparently I was the last to return. As the bus started to drive off, I said a prayer to protect me from this monster that roams the land. I asked my grandpa the next day about these things that I had seen. He grew up there and was a native from our country, and his dad had been a coffee farmer, which is one of the things my country still trades to the US. He explained that the locals had a curfew, and that they never went out unarmed to pick the coffee because of these things. They had suspected they were both animals and humans, and practiced devil worshipping, and traded their souls in order to shapeshift into many animal forms, such as the great wolf spirit. I have to tell you that when we made our life in the US, I had thought I had left the monsters behind me, but as it turns out I was wrong. I am in Austin, Texas, and have been here since 1996. I encourage people I know to not go out into the woods alone, and do not wear bright colors. At least go armed with a gun or bear pepper spray, because I do believe I was lucky, but I will not tempt fate again. Name withheld.
This is Lon Strickler. If you like this program, it would help us if you would give it a thumbs up. Then subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notification when we upload new first-person encounters. We have many more to come very soon. And by the way, if you have a suggestion or an experience of your own, please leave a comment.